Welcome back to Operation Evil. This is episode 113, The Mothman. I'm your host, Nyoka, and I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode featuring Megan because she's back again. If you want to say hi, Megan.
Hello, everybody.
And guess what? We have an exciting news to share. Megan is officially my new co-host. So
Thank you, Nyoka.
welcome to the Operation Evil family. I'm so happy to have you. Our new adventure. We have so much fun together.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for taking this journey with me.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people gave me really good feedback with your episode last week. So
Good stuff, man.
yeah, it was good stuff. But this week, as promised, we're going to talk about Mothman. And this was super fun. I honestly thought that I wouldn't find any professional newspaper articles. I don't know why. I didn't think, but I thought I just gave it a shot anyways. And so much came up. So much. And I have one article I'm going to read word for word because it was the best article I think I've ever read in my entire life. It was so good. So good. Okay. Mothman. How did it all begin? Well, the legend of Mothman started in November of 1966 when sightings of this creature started occurring in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And the first sighting from my research, and if you have anything different, let me know. The first sighting from my research was on November 15th, 1966. In my notes, I put 1996. 1966 by a group of people in town. And then from there were hundreds of more sightings of the same creature that kept getting reported.
So was yours all in Point Pleasant?
Yes.
Or near there?
Okay. Yeah, pretty much.
So the research that I did, I knew Nyoka was going to research the Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So I ended up kind of digging down a different rabbit hole of other sightings in other areas. And one of the sightings was 1957 in Braidwood, Illinois. It was a sighting by a hunter of a winged creature with a body of a large human. And then in 1966, just before what you're about to read, there two grave diggers spotted Mothman prior to the Point Pleasant account. And this was in Clendenin, if I'm saying that correctly, West Virginia, which is a few miles from Point Pleasant.
That's interesting.
Yes. So, and those were the first accounts that I could find that, obviously were previous to the Point Pleasant that we know of.
Interesting.
And these came about because of the Point Pleasant incident and because that made the headlines, which you're about to read.
Yeah.
These people came forward after the fact. So credit it how you want to, but yeah.
I love that. And and these were just reported cases. So who knows when this creature was actually first spotted. So the one article that I have to read, because it's the best article ever, was published in November 20th, 1966. And this is what it said. All the world has costumed superhumans, flying saucers, rocket ships with little green men, and numerous other identified and unidentified flying objects. We West Virginians can continue to hold our heads high with justified and inherent pride because we are ahead of the rest of the world in the field of mysterious flying things. West Virginians, that's hard to say. Okay. Have Mothman discovered by West Virginians for West Virginians in West Virginia. I swear this is that was said. He, she, it is huge and luminous, feathery and fuzzy, brownish gray and grayish brown, moth-like and bird-like, and he, she, it has large red reflector-like eyes that shine in the dark. No one knows what those eyes do in the daylight because no one as yet has sighted Mothman between sunup and sundown. He has been clocked at 100 miles per hour over West Virginia roads, and it's a cinch he could travel faster over the highways elsewhere. Mothman was first sighted several nights ago by two married couples in the vicinity of Point Pleasant as they drove, and then fled along Mason County roads. These four Mothmanners were the ones who reported that he chased their automobiles at 100 miles per hour. I was inclined to believe most of their story because they were married couples. If they had been single couples, they would have been parked. And if they would have been single and parked, they wouldn't have seen King Kong if he had wandered into the vicinity of their parked vehicles. A sheriff of one of their counties where Mothman was spotted tried to explain Mothman away by saying that our super identified flying object was probably a bird. I only hope Mothman doesn't take offense as such a reckless and thoughtless remark, fly away from our hills, take up residence in New York, and get his own television series. Was that not the best article ever?
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah.
fun. That was so fun. Do they write like this now? I wouldn't know.
Not really.
No.
I mean, no.
No.
The things that I was reading was basically calling it out, like cryptid. What's a cryptid? It's a creature whose existence is unsubstantiated.
Okay.
You know, and then it went on to say, is it extraterrestrial or is it, a bad omen? Is it evil? Is it benevolent? Is it impending doom? So there were things written like that,
It's still fun. So fun.
Yes.
The couples that the article was referring to that spotted the Mothman were Roger and Linda Scarberry and their friends Steve and Mary Mallet from Point Pleasant. They reported to a deputy sheriff that they were driving into town for some entertainment. And when they drove past an old power plant, Linda noticed something when she looked out of the window and screamed. And what she saw was this large creature flying at a high speed, following their car. And it looked like it was a 7-foot tall flying man, grayish in color, with 10-foot wings protruding from the center of its back and large red eyes. Linda said, quote, "It turned slowly to peer at us from under its wings, which stood out behind it just like the wings of angels in paintings. It had no head as we know it, no neck. The body ended at the top of the torso. Then two huge eyes stared at us. They glowed in the dusk, several inches across. We all felt, and so did the many others who saw it afterwards, this horrible fascination in those eyes, as though it was mesmerizing us the way a snake does a rabbit." End quote. And her husband, Roger, stated, "I am a hard guide to scare, but I was for getting out of there." And that's when Roger put his foot on the gas and he sped off, and he was driving 105 miles per hour. And they said that the creature kept up with that speed. And when they reached a well-lit area, the creature apparently got scared off because of the lights, and then it vanished. But after they talked about it, they decided to turn around and drive back down the road to see if maybe it was some kind of bird or what it was. And it was there again, waiting for them. Linda said this time when she saw it, it was standing upright like a man beside the road in the weeds, eyes glowing red at them. She said it had thick legs, but couldn't see its feet. Because its wings protruding over its body, it looked hunched over like an upright ape. And Linda also said that the wings looked like angel wings. I think that's a pretty good description.
A very good description, and it matches some of the ones that we're seeing elsewhere in other states.
Interesting.
Yeah.
She said that when they approached it, it leaped up into the air and then started stalking them again. And it would end up disappearing at the old power plant where it all started.
So I just want to add the old power plant also was a National Guard armory, I guess, at one point in time. That's kind of
Yes,
important.
I read something like about World War II and
Yes. And apparently that was a big, well, so the guy who runs the museum, his father used to work at the National Guard armory.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So that's some of the stuff that I have is, and I have his name and stuff, Jeff Wamsley. And he opened the Mothman Museum in 2006. And that's where they host the annual festival and such. And it says his dad worked for the National Guard Armory, and he wrote, Jeff, meaning Jeff himself,
Mhm.
wrote two books: 2001 Mothman Facts Behind the Legend, and 2005 Mothman Behind the Red Eyes.
Ooh.
So there was a tie-in with the National Guard Armory as well. So I don't know if it's, I'm assuming it's the same place.
Yes, I think it is. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it is. It's weird how it started and stopped there at
Yeah.
that location.
Yeah.
And what was also noted is the following day, Linda would have she had a nervous breakdown because of this, and her dad would end up taking her to the hospital for it, and she was hospitalized.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So it gets even crazier from here because if you fast forward just a couple days, Mothman was spotted again, and he was spotted by this Point Pleasant farmer, um, Newell or no, yeah, Newell Partridge, I think is how you say his name. And he reported it that night around 10:30 p.m. He said his TV went out and it made a strange noise. And then at the same time, he had a large German Shepherd dog named Bandit who started howling from the front porch. Like all this was happening at the same time. And so, because his dog was freaking out, he went outside with his flashlight. And when he, like, flashed his light up, it spotted the creature and it was there standing near his house. And he described it the same way that the couples did. And he said his dog went after it. And he was so scared that night that he actually went to bed with a shotgun just in case. But his dog was never seen again. His dog went after this thing, and there was tracks of it, like where you could see where it like raced around in a circle like it was chasing his tail, but there was no other tracks, and the dog was like nowhere to be found. I don't know.
Yeah. I just also want to point out that the next day after Linda and Roger and them were in the car, it made headlines. So November 16th, 1966, it made newspaper headlines. And then there's accounts that the town actually like went hunting for it. And then more stories emerged.
Ooh,
So
I'm
that's all I
picturing a
have.
witch hunt in my head.
Right? That's exactly kind of what I had in my head. But see, the way that my timeline goes, it has the dog vanishing before they see it. So
What?
it's actually
Really?
before, yeah, November 15th. That came from the Mallow 2021 reference,
Hmm.
which was an ode
Interesting.
to a hometown creature, Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, Folk Life magazine.
Wow.
So I don't know if it was the day before or the day after, because if the
Yeah.
day after would make sense, because here these couples come forward
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, we saw this, and then it would make sense to see it again. But I don't know if it came before or after.
Huh. That's good
Yep.
to know.
Yep.
So from there, sightings of the Mothman started coming in from all over the area. And Roger, he like did this drawing of the Mothman creature and it was in the newspaper. So I did a snippet and I'm going to post it on Facebook so you can see his drawing.
I just
But
I just I want to know, Naoka. I need to know if it looks anything like this.
It does. It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure.
Oh my God. Megan sent me this video earlier today of somebody dressed like the Mothman and its eyes lit up and everything. And I feel like we needed that for tonight. If we would have known ahead of time, right? Would we
Yeah,
have
we would
bought
have had
it?
that.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we would have had that.
So Roger does this drawing, and people that claim to see this creature was like, yes, that's what I saw. That's exactly what I saw. Years later, in an interview with Linda, the one who was hospitalized because she had a nervous breakdown after this experience, she said it changed her life and it left her feeling haunted. And she said that it even broke up her teenage marriage. I don't know. In the next 3 days after the first sighting, at least 8 people reported seeing the creature. On November 18th, 1966, 2 volunteer firemen, Captain Paul Yoder and Ben Enochs, said that they saw a very large bird with large red eyes. What was this creature that keeps getting spotted? Well, if you ask the associate professor of wildlife biology, Dr. Robert Smith, he said it fit the description of a sandhill crane, which stands as tall as a man and has a wingspan of more than 7 feet. And he also said that the red eyes could be explained because there's these large circles of bare reddish flesh around the crane's eyes. And he said the bird must have wandered away from its normal migration route. Now, I looked up what this looks like, and I will also post this on Facebook. And its appearance was like it had like long, skinny legs, not the thick legs that Linda described. It has a long neck, which Linda described it like not having a neck. Um, It's gray and it has a patch of bald, like red skin on the top of its head. It does have large wings that I can connect. But other than that, I didn't, I mean, I got to be honest, I wasn't seeing what people described as this creature. But you'll see the pictures for yourself and you can make that determination. That's just my opinion. I look at this bird and it's obvious to me that this is just a bird. Where this must have been so bizarre for other people because they didn't describe, like, yeah, that was a bird. I don't know. Did you find anything about that?
I found a lot, but that ties into the other accounts. So wherever you stop is kind of where I'll jump in.
Okay.
But yes, it is said that it could have been a sandhill crane. Yes.
Yeah, and it said that they fly with their necks like outstretched like geese, and they are from Florida. I don't know. I looked at it and I was like, nah, not for me. In February 1967, Dr. Warner, he's a vet, and he said that when he was driving along the highway, he saw a huge crane-like bird flying over the river, and he described it as having an elonged neck and a huge wingspan. That to me describes the sandhill crane, but not the creature initially described, in my opinion. Now, he said he stopped the car in the middle of the road after the bird changed directions, and the driver behind him came up and was like, "Are you okay, man?" And he pointed at the bird and he was like, the Mothman that everyone's reading about and talking about, that is it. And the driver just called him a damn drunk and went back to his car. So, a couple other descriptions of Mothman that wasn't mentioned earlier that I also found that I thought was pretty interesting is that Someone claimed that it sounds like a woman screaming. That's
Hmm.
the noise it makes. And it doesn't flap its wings in flight. And it takes off straight up like a helicopter.
I saw that too.
And then overall, more than 200 people in West Virginia have allegedly seen the Mothman. And I find it more interesting because while researching all of this, in January 1967, a man named John Keel, who was a flying saucer chaser, came to this newsroom and introduced himself to the news people, reporters. And he like gave them his credentials, like how he was in all these magazines, and he was talking about his pursuit of the Mothman. And he tells them some interesting things, like he is convinced that the government has something to do with it. He thinks that we are being visited by something from space. He believes that there may be a connection between the manifestations that are reported in the underground caves that are all over the Appalachian Mountains.
Mhm.
And the news reporters were like, I don't know, they probably just was like, who is this dude? Right. And they even joked with him and they were like, well, maybe they are creatures from another dimension who co-inhabited the planet Earth. But he didn't laugh at that joke. No, no. Now you fast forward to January 19th, 1975, and I find his name again. And this time he's being mentioned for his book called The Mothman Prophecies.
Mm.
And in this book, he reported that one girl who saw the Mothman later came back to this old building with the author and said they saw the creature's red eyes. And she was so scared that one of her ears started bleeding. But I don't know why. Anyway,
Interesting.
this book would later become a movie in 2002 called The Mothman Prophecies. Have you watched that one?
Yeah. So, yes. And then that's where the whole term Men in Black came from. Did you get that in your research?
Yeah, he coined that term.
Yeah, the Men in Black. And it
Yes.
was where they went around and harassed everybody, claimed to be witnesses. And yeah.
I've watched that on paranormal shows about the men in black, basically threatening you to never say anything kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this guy, right? He's got ideas. Um, I also wrote down, fun fact, he was also the person who coined the term men in black.
Hmm.
So now I'm just going to jump to the Silver Bridge collapse. And what happened was this tragedy happened to Point Pleasant on December 15th, 1967, when cars lined up on the bridge. They were bumper to bumper. It was during rush hour. It was like 5 p.m. And we're close to Christmas time. You know how crazy it is during Christmas time. They're probably out getting home from work or maybe they're shopping. Who knows? I don't know. They're bumper to bumper. And according to the West Virginia Department of Transportation, eyewitnesses recall a loud gunshot like noise and a bridge, quote, folding like a deck of cards, end quote, in less than 20 seconds into the river, taking with it 32 vehicles, 46 victims, and two of those were bodies that were never recovered. And if you don't know anything about Mothman, you might be like, well, what does this bridge have anything to do with the Mothman story? It has everything to do with the Mothman story because the Mothman sightings, they say it ended, at least in that area, after the bridge collapsed. And some believe that the Mothman sightings leading up to the bridge incident happened because the creature was warning them of what was to come. But on the other hand, some blame the Mothman, saying that the creature is bad luck and he caused the disaster to happen and he became this villain and was associated with the Omen of Doom. Now, residents of Point Pleasant have embraced the Mothman legend. And when you go to that area, you will see his name on signs and windows and restaurants. And there's a museum devoted to him. And there's if the museum features everything from handwritten eyewitness accounts to newspaper clippings to props from that movie, The Mothman Prophecies. And in 2003, a life-size sculpture was placed in downtown Point Pleasant, and they say the town celebrates this creature every September during the Mothman Festival, which I think you have things to say about that. And this festival attracts more than 2,000 people a year. You can have your picture taken near the statue while drinking a Mothman Frappuccino. That's what I found. I would personally love to go there and go to that museum and see all these things. And I don't know, but lastly, what I have to tie up the story with is beginning in 2011, and I hope you have more stuff on this. Beginning in 2011 and as recent as 2020, a Mothman-like creature has been spotted several times in the Chicago area.
Yep.
No one knows if it's the same creature or if something different. That's what I have.
All right. So we already talked about Jeff Wamsley in 2006, where he opened the museum. He hosts the annual festivals that you just talked about. He wrote 2 books. 2002 is when John Keel, a New York paranormal journalist, teamed up with Athens, Ohio. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Athens, but Athens.
That's the book author.
Yep, Mary Hyre for Mothman Prophecies. So that's where that comes into play.
Okay.
Then, so I think it was it in that reference? Hang on, let me just look real quick.
Yeah.
One of these references, I can't remember exactly which one, turned me on to a documentary that was 2017 that covered Chicago, Indiana, and Michigan sightings. So that's what I was watching the other night. It's on Amazon Prime. I don't know if you want to leave it in the show notes or however you do that, but
yeah.
I sent it in the email. It's in there. I also did find it on YouTube, so you don't have to rent it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's there. But anyway, so it goes on to this documentary, and it names this documentary. Again, it has to do with the Chicago sightings around April of 2017.
Oh, that's pretty recent.
Yes, April 27th. Well, there's more too. April 2017, the sightings were of a large winged creature with red but also yellow eyes. So the reports came out and they were reported to Mutual UFO Network and UFO Clearinghouse, which is kind of odd because in the documentary they even mentioned, I was like, wait a minute, because that would have been the 50th anniversary of Mothman when the bridge collapsed and just before the movie came out.
Oh.
So that to me is kind of fishy.
That
But
is a little fishy.
Yes, I'm not going to discredit anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the documentary then goes on to August 2016, the screeching sounds. So I didn't capture anything that said it sounded like crying or anything like that or screaming, but more like screeching. And this person witnessed 2 large red eyes as she was walking her mother to her car. And this again was in Chicago. Now, when you think of Chicago, you think of downtown.
I
This
do.
was not, none of these are downtown. These are like rural suburbs. Okay.
Yeah.
So then it goes on to February 2017 when a man driving saw a black man looking bird running on the highway and it flew away. And that was also in the rural suburbs of Chicago. And then April 17th, 2017 at 6 a.m., a lady was taking her garbage out and she saw a black figure hunched over making noises. So it's that same hunchback.
Wow.
And there were 5 other sightings within a few miles from her in Illinois suburbs of Chicago as well. Now, this is about the time in the documentary where they start talking about there's a forest preserve all around these parts. So where these sightings are coming from, like all of these sightings, whether they're 5 miles to the west, 14 miles to the north, doesn't matter. There's this preserve that's there. Guess what just happens to be at these preserves are those sandhill cranes.
Oh no.
So just throwing
I
that out
hate
there.
that. Oh my
Mhm.
God, I hate that.
And then throughout the documentary, they talk about other sightings that they've seen and they've debunked them. So they'll talk about the sighting and then they'll show the picture. And they said, well, we zoomed all the way in and yep, nope, it's a bird. Or yep, nope, it's a bat or whatever. So there's a few that they debunked. But then I'll keep going on. So then in spring of 2017 in rural Wisconsin, a guy was driving and he pulled into a driveway and he was talking on his phone. You know how you like talk on your phone and you're sitting in your
Yeah.
car? That's what he was doing. And he sees a figure that's about 50 feet away. He turns his headlights on because he's like, what the heck's this dude doing? And he sees a humanoid bat dragon, his words, humanoid bat dragon. And it just vanished in front of him. In February 2018, someone saw a tall humanoid in the headlights in the suburbs of Illinois. And then another man saw something similar nearby and he called 911. And that was actually reported. So the documentary people went back, found the 911 report where it actually was reported that they saw something, a humanoid.
Oh, I need to watch this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Then the documentary, the same time frame, there was a guy who was going to off himself. He was having a really bad day, really bad week, really bad month, and he was going to off himself, and he saw it. As he was driving, I guess like the radio got all scrambled or whatever, which is very similar to the Point Pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, three other motorists actually stopped with him when he saw it. There were three other people, but they were in such awe. Nobody like pulled out their phones or anything. They were just kind of like, are we really seeing this? They all saw it. They all got back in their vehicles. And then as he was driving away, these songs came on the radio that were like basically like Staying Alive was one of them. I can't remember what the other one was, but it was basically like life is great type of things.
This is like Final Destination stuff.
Yes. So he took it as it was a sign for him, no matter what it was, Mothman or not, it wasn't evil. It was to remind him, that life is good. Let's see. 2019 in Chicago, there were reports of the Mothman as well. And then recently as 2021, Chicago around Lake Michigan, there were 5 sightings, one of which was actually at the Chicago O'Hare Airport for a security response of a red-winged humanoid.
A red-winged one.
Yeah. So, or it may have been red-eyed. I may have missed a
That's
word there.
still
Red-eyed
interesting.
winged humanoid.
Okay.
Yes. So as recent as 2021. Now, in the
Mm.
other research that I did, it came up. We talked about the sandhill cranes, Singular 14 Society. They are the ones that documented all the Chicago sightings, and their website is pretty extensive. So I would definitely say for any listeners out there, maybe we can throw that in the show notes or however you do it, because that website is pretty cool to kind of tinker around on. It's not just Mothman specific. They've got a few different things going on there, but it's pretty neat. And I also want to point out that Chicago W.Va station reported in depth on the Mothman sightings in 2019. So it wasn't just something that, a documentary is talking about. Like it actually was specifically reported by news stations and such. So, and that's what I have.
Wow. That's really good. I didn't have any recent stuff.
And the other thing I wanted to say is that it's not just seen in West Virginia or Chicago or Indiana or Michigan. There's accounts from it being witnessed from earthquakes, tsunamis, and 9/11. So just throwing that out.
So that's why some people look at it like it's warning them, and then some people looking at it like it's evil because it's like a doomsday
Impending doom.
prophet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what about if it's a dragon?
What did that guy call it? A bird bat dragon?
Yeah.
That would definitely be my 911 call.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys, like We have really good phones today. I need video. If you're gonna see something like this, you need to video it. Because whenever you watch those like paranormal shows and we have good cell phones now, why is the footage always or like really fuzzy? It's annoying. I need to know.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about the Mothman sightings? I'd love to know. I'm sure Megan would love to know. You should
Yes.
tell us. Even if you just want to message it to us on Facebook, I just want to know, like, who believes in the Mothman sightings and who doesn't. I want to believe.
So my coworker, I'll leave him unnamed, but my
Hmm.
coworker is actually has family that lives there. And
Mm,
I asked him just in passing, I said, "Hey there, guy, tell me about this. And what does your family think?" None of his family has ever seen it. However, they did mention the armory, and they did mention that the movie made the town seem so lavish, something that it wasn't. So that's all he had to say.
you know what else I was thinking? I watch way too many paranormal shows, but you know how investigators will go around and they will check the like the electricity I don't know what word I'm looking for.
EMF?
Yes, EMF. What about if the power plant area was giving off some kind of high dosage of EMF, which causes paranoia or maybe hallucinations or something? Maybe I don't know. I'm I'm just saying. I watch way too many things like that.
It's just odd that you would have multiple people in different areas having
The same
distinct
experience.
hallucinations. Yeah. I mean, it's just odd to me. And
I hope it's
I've
true.
seen some things and I've heard some things in my lifetime that you and I have talked about
Mm-hmm.
private. And I mean, I've never seen a bat dragon human, but at the same time, like some things, how do you how do you explain that? You know? So I do believe that there are things that are definitely unsubstantiated,
Mm-hmm.
unexplainable.
Me
It's
too.
very interesting to me.
I do find it interesting. I do want to go there sometime and go to the festival at least and just have fun. I don't know.
I want a
But
frappuccino now that you mentioned
right?
it.
So good. Um, yeah, that concludes our research on the Mothman, and that was so much fun.
Mhm.
So much fun. Now remember, if you want more episodes and you're all caught up here on this platform, you can jump over to the Patreon and join there. And there's a good 30 something episodes there if you want to binge on that. We will put all the links in our show notes and give Megan a warm welcome. She is going to bring some life to the show. I really needed you. Thank you for doing this again.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
I am too. I am too. But if you guys have any suggestions or want to hear anything, we're always open to that. It might take a while to get to it. It's really weird, and I don't know how you operate, Megan, but people might bring up something and I might cover it 8 months later. I have to be in the right mind space for certain things, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. So it's not like we're ignoring it. We never do, but we always would love some inspiration. So let us know if there's anything you want to hear. But until next time, bye bye. You want to say?
Bye.